What was it like in your experience in being on these trips with et cetera and Mark and Fred and Ron? What did that feel like being on those things?
Well, it was euphoric. It was, I had come from Merced, and Merced had a lot of, social issues, people with drug issues, like the people that were sort of liberal were also more into drugs and more into, it was just a much harder life. And one of the main things that impressed me was you're just outside. You're outside, and it was just clean living. Mark liked ice cream instead of beer, so there was no alcohol, there were no drugs. I mean, I was never into drugs, but the people I hung around with in Merced were more into drugs, and that sort of, and I just loved it just felt very naive and pure. And then we were.
So a basic trip would be.
So
a basic
trip would be probably 2 days, and usually 2 days and overnight. And a group would come with, maybe 3 or 4 leaders, teachers, or adults. I mean, we'd take like California Youth Authority kids down, and then we'd pack the food up in the morning on the boats and blow up our boats at Camp 9, and we might have like 4 or 5 boats that would be donated from other river companies.
Old basket boats.
Other boats
that were just cast off.
I mean, basket boats were like these black, soft, the tubes were like this thing, and as soon as you hit a little rock, I mean, every trip we would have to, boats would pop. You'd hit a rock and it would pop. And so then you'd spend an hour patching it. Usually Fred was a good patcher, patching it up. And then you'd row down another couple, miles. And the Stanislaus was just amazing because it was like one, potential activity after another. We had caves, so we'd go caving and take kids into the caves, go up Rose Creek, which was really beautiful, little creek, go up the South Fork, you could hike, there were a lot of hikes.
Rope swing trees, swimming rapids.
Yeah, and there was a lot of Native American places too, like grinding stones, and it was just an incredible cultural experience all around.
What was the impact of that on the kids that you took?
Well, I don't know, but a lot of kids had never been, had never camped outside, never been outside, never been on a river, never been, they're city kids, never gone anywhere like that. And so, and plus the rapids were, at least when I rode, scary because I was screaming as I was rowing. I'm sure the whole thing was just very expanded.
By the end of a trip, what was the tenor of the kids? How did they feel?
Kids loved it. Kids loved being out, and it was inspirational. I mean, I think for all of us. And somewhere after a couple years of doing this, we usually had trips like from probably May till August or something, September, and then I'd start going to school. Then we'd go to school. Everybody would sort of disperse and go to school or whatever, and gradually work my way through, college. I went to about 7 colleges. After a couple of years, we thought, we got to name this. This is a nonprofit. We want a nonprofit. We want to name it. We sat out by the river one day, and I think Robin and Jackie and Fred and maybe Rick Spittler. I don't remember exactly who. Robin will remember. We came up with the name, etc. and we wanted to have a longer name too, because we had etc. because it was just like we did this and this and this and this and this. We do river trips and. So that's like
anything that got kids out, anything you had to do to keep going.
Yeah, and so then we really liked the environment, so we did environmental traveling companions. That's sort of how we named it, and.
And that name, of course, has continued for 50 plus years.
Yeah,
and
we
it's
just had our
still
50th
lively.
anniversary, which is amazing. Yeah. And they've expanded it a lot, doing, a lot of different outdoor adventures.
So you were doing this for roughly 5 years, 4 years, from
I probably
72 to 70?
I probably did it 72 till probably 78, 77 or 78 when I, finished. Well, I got my master's in, and it was my theme for my master's actually in 81. So I was probably did trips
All the way through.
all the way through.